Hi dearies, how are you all doing? Hope you're all doing great and are geared towards a fantastic weekend. So welcome to Prati's kitchen. So Prati is back with a tummy yum recipe, a snack recipe that is most popularly known as samosa. So yes, samosa is something which is really loved by everybody. It's one of the most, I think, famous Indian snack variety. So then I decided let's make samosas, but then I just then decided to make it in a little interesting way. Why not give it a different shape? So this is why I landed up making these different shapes for you all. So these are 12 varieties of shapes which I really loved making, and I'd really love you to make for your loved ones. And of course here the stuffing remains the same, the typical aloo का मसाला. तो आप इसको वेरिएट कर सकते हैं with either corn, पनीर या कुछ भी स्टफिंग जो आपको पसंद है. काफ़ी नॉन वेजिटेरियन इसमें कीमा स्टफिंग भी करते हैं, चिकन समोसे भी बनते हैं. तो आप कम्प्लीटली स्टफिंग अपने पसंद का डालिएगा. आज मैं आपको रेगुलर आलू के मसाले की स्टफिंग बताऊंगी. एंड लुक एट दीज डिलिशियस क्रंची samosas. So I think I'll just share few of my favorite ones. This one was a fish shaped samosa, completely veg, आलू स्टफिंग है वहाँ पे, लेकिन कितना सुंदर लगता है. And second was ring shaped. Then of course the regular one. Then these match shaped samosas looks really interesting. Sun shaped and moon shaped तो खैर बच्चों का बहुत ही favorite था. तो these were again like literally so cute. And this one I wouldn't say it looks like coronavirus. This is what my daughter says. And of course few other interesting ways to make. So why are we waiting? Let's get cooking. So let's start preparing our dough first. So for the dough, we would need about 2 bowls of all-purpose flour. Now this is about 200 grams approximately. So I'm adding about 200 grams of maida. I am not adding ajwain here as we do in our regular samosa dough. Now I've added about a teaspoon of salt and about 4 tablespoons of clarified butter. Instead of clarified butter, you may even use a regular vegetable oil. And next, mix it super well and get it to a crumbly texture. And once it is done, start adding little by little water. Now with the same measuring cup, I've taken about 3/4 cup of water altogether to knead this dough. We want a very tight dough. It's like little more tough than a semi-soft dough. So that is the reason why you'll find it easy when you kind of hold it up in your hand and give it the shape that you would want to. So it's easier to give the shape that it requires if the dough is tight. So make it a tough dough and give it a good mix and let it rest for about say 20 rough minutes. Until then we will make our stuffing for it. So let it sit aside. Now I've taken a pan, add about 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil. You may reduce or increase as per your choice. Add about a tablespoon of cumin seeds. This is a basic tadka for our aloo masala. And then to it I'm adding just the basic thing, that is our chopped onion, about 1 medium sized chopped onion going in there. Then goes our 4 to 5 green chilies and the coriander leaves, about half a handful. Coriander leaves आप बाद में भी add कर सकते हैं once your stuffing is done, but I've just added it in the beginning itself, and if required I'll add it up later as well. Now to it I've added about 1 tablespoon of ginger garlic paste. Few people can substitute it with just the chopped ginger, 1 tablespoon. Now here I've taken about 2 medium sized finely chopped tomatoes or 1 big whole size of finely chopped tomatoes. Now give it all a good mix, and once it is slightly cooked we will start adding our dry spice mix. Now the basic dry spice mix that I would be adding here is 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1 teaspoon of salt or as per taste salt, and then chili powder about a tablespoon. Again as per your choice, you may increase or decrease. The coriander powder about a tablespoon here. You may also add other spice mix like your amchur powder, probably garam masala or whatever you like. And next to it I am adding the key ingredient, which is boiled and mashed potatoes. So about 4 big boiled potatoes are taken here. Now I would need a very soft and probably a finer consistency of this stuffing. So I'd use a masher because I don't want those lumpy textures out there like of those potatoes over there. So I'm just going to be, if you've noticed, even the veggies were finely chopped. Since we're making mini bites, I would want a fine consistency of my stuffing. To it now I've added about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, which is approximately 1 whole big lime juice, and give it a good mix. And once it's done, once it's non-sticky, just turn off the flame and keep it aside to cool down. Now next, let's start making our samosa shapes. So take out your dough that was resting for 20 minutes, give it a good knead. You don't have to knead it for a long time, just a rough knead. And let's divide it into divide it into how many ever samosas you're making. So we will need, मतलब बिल्कुल छोटे छोटे लोई चाहिए, जैसे आप चपाती की लोई बनाते हैं बिल्कुल उतने ही साइज़ की लोई लेनी है आपको. So just take the similar sized ball and roll it up into thin chapati. And the first shape that we are making today is the sun shaped samosa. These are going to be mini bites. These are very cute and yummy too. And you just have to make that the base has to be super thin. Now I'm using a bowl here to just cut it evenly through, because I am going to be overlapping 2 chapatis and then stuff the masala in between. So I just need about 2 thin rolls of this chapati. Using a bowl, a regular sized bowl, I'm just taking a medium or small size rather, and just cutting 2 equal sized chapatis. I'm using water as a sticking agent. You may also use slurry. Now at the center exactly, use very little quantity of aloo masala. And next, pick the other chapati roll and just try to stretch it a bit, because maida has a tendency to kind of shrink. So just give it a good press on the corners and make sure it's all stuck properly. Now using a knife, I am leaving about half an inch distance and just cutting it through out the borders. So just give it nice cut, and after cutting we will just pick up two strips and try to attach it and pinch it just like that, giving it a nice leafy shape or flowery shape. Basically it looks like sunflower. In fact, I just wanted to make sunflower, but then I made sun, so I just thought, why not making moon? So I landed up making sun. Now you see 3 strips are left over, so just I'm attaching the entire 3, and I don't want anything to be left over. So just give it a nice neat shape by pinching everything together and giving it nice a little sharp edge. So ta-da, our sunflower shaped samosa is done. Keep it neat, just keep it aside. Try to cover it up with a wet cloth so that it doesn't dry out until we finish making the entire lot. Now we're making our moon shaped samosa. So for that we would just required 1 chapati roll. So I've taken the same bowl, I've just cut it right exactly the same way, and at the center I've placed a little bit of aloo masala, and on the corners I'm using water. Just this is the regular water. You may use the slurry as I've already mentioned last. Now just bring and overlap the other half onto the rest half and give it a nice hemisphere shape. Like this is very beautiful and very easy and convenient to make. So give it the same type of cut, and then after that try to join 2 strips together by pricking at its edge, and it is that simple, but it comes out so gorgeous and beautiful. So basically I didn't add my carom seeds, which is ajwain, just to give it a beautiful moon and sun shape. If I would have added carom seeds, it would have looked this beautiful and elegant. So yeah, so our moon is done. Okay, so next, before moving on to the next one, I would show you how thin I would want you to roll your chapati. This is how thin I would want, because we are going to be making our mini bites, and these are very good tea time snacks. Actually you can just swear by these. These are very cute, very little, very light. So I have just cut the unwanted borders and gave it a nice square shape, and after that I've cut it into 4 equal halves, and this is how thin you would want your dough to be. Now cut it into 4 equal halves. With 1 equal half, just pick it up and give it an L shape, like an L cut. So I'm just cutting 1, 2, 3 on one side, and right opposite to it I am cutting 1, 2, 3. So this is like I'm not touching these lines with each other. The cuts have to be a little away from each other. It is not meeting, and just right at the center of these cuts I am going to be placing my stuffing, and just wet your corners with water and stick it up just like that. So it's just overlapping the border. You're just bringing the corners and just sticking it in the center. And don't worry, the stuffing will never come out while you're deep frying, because by the time you make all these lots, it's going to be dried up like almost. It wouldn't be wet, and it doesn't come. I really don't understand the logic why it doesn't come out, but when sometimes you're making samosa and it suddenly cracks and all your stuffing comes out, it somehow doesn't land up happening that way with these spiral wrap shape samosas. Well, now this is the second size of samosa, so I have taken two, I've used two square sheets here. With the bottom sheet, I have just put a little bit of stuffing on top, and with the entire thing you've seen, I have just cut it on the corners, giving it a square shape, and now bringing all the corners, especially the edges, and together I am just pressing it on the top at the center of the stuffing. So once you have brought all the corners, it is very easy to bring out the rest just like that, because see, the tendency of the dough, because of its gluten, whatever the stretchy consistency, you can just do and design the way you want to. So even if there is a missing part, which is the corner of every corner has been pulled in the center, right? So you will just make it up, you don't have to worry, you will make it up, there will be no gaps. You just have to stretch each strips and keep equal distance and set it right. Now that was the COVID virus I was talking about. Well, that was a flower that I was intending to make, though it was named by my daughter as COVID virus. Nevertheless, it suits the situation, the current situation, so be it. Now this is the mat shaped samosa that we are making, so you have to make sure, again and again I'm telling, please note, make it super duper duper thin. The dough has to be super duper duper thin, because we are overlapping. There are many overlaps that would happen here, so you have to make sure that the dough is super thin. So just place it the way that I've showed you, and exactly at the center put a little stuffing, and picking up the bottom, like pick the bottom one and try to close the one, and then moving on to the other side, like you just go clockwise. So just, if you've picked the bottom one, either the right or the left one, you have to just close it up again, and using the water just try to close it tight, intact, and then after that give these slight cuts, complete cuts onto the other two sides. So this is the main thing. I think you'll have to notice it very carefully. So I've just applied a little bit of water so that it just sticks thoroughly. So I am just going to alternate the strips here. So I've just cut the strips through equally, 4 here, 4 there, 4 times. And once you are bringing it alternatively, you will also bring down the previous one which you have taken up. So this is just like the mat that we have done in our SUPW classes when we were kids. I do remember I had made this mat. I think everybody would have, with woolen and with few other stuff. So this is that simple. And if you really haven't done any, but I think all of us would be having an idea of doing this chatai design. This was called chatai design those days. So just bring the bottoms up while you're bringing the top strips down. So it's just alternating. 1, leave the 2, third one, leave the 4th, 5th one, leave the 6th. And do not worry about the size of the strips, because basically with maida, as I am keeping on saying, that it has the tendency to stretch. So don't worry even if it looks a smaller strip all the way through, but you can keep pulling it until you end the entire chatai design. So just pull it light-handed until you finish the entire set of the making this alternate design. And once you're done, whatever extra is remaining, just either chop it off or just tuck it down. Just tuck it up the way I'm showing you, and that gives a nice finish. So our matte chatai design samosa is done. That looks so beautiful. So keep this aside and let's move on to our 6th shape. Now the 6th shape of samosa is a ring samosa. Now I have just rolled my thin chapati. Now at the bottom, right from the bottom to the center, I have just cut thin strips, and on the top, wherever like your slit is ending, exactly there you would place your stuffing and then apply water. Now roll it up very carefully and just seal the corners so that the stuffing doesn't come out, and you have applied, and make sure you have applied enough water to stick. So just, it is that easy. Just roll it up, and any extras on the edge without stuffing, knock it off. Now next, apply a little bit of water onto the edges, because we're going to be sticking the edges together. So bring it together, just pinch it, just pinch both the sides, stick it super well, and giving it a ring shape. Make sure you're just holding it perfectly well, and then just stick the corners, and that's about it. Now this is one of the way I've showed you. There's another way which you can also try. Basically it's the same typical method throughout the end, but at the end I will be sticking a strip onto it. Like I don't want it to be visible where we try to, join the corners. So I will just use a strip onto it so that it comes out clean and clean and I was about to say clean and clear. Clean and beautiful. So yeah, it's the same procedure until then. So I'm just using the similar technique. I am using the same procedure. So just to knock off the corners where you don't have any masalas, and after that apply a little bit of water and bring the corners together and stick it. So by pinching, and you have to pinch both the corners, and that is when you see it is sticking. But then sometimes it happens so that you don't get a neat clean shape. So I'm using a strip over here to kind of give that finished look. So see how beautiful it looks. So this is the second technique which you always can make. This comes out really clean and beautiful. So tada, our ring samosa is done. So we are done with our 6th, moving on to our 7th shape. So just cut the borders, roll your chapati into thin, then just cut it right at the center. And like how I showed you the mat samosa, this is another type of mat that I'm showing you. This is the easiest version that you would want to try, because I think the previous one which I showed you, it takes a little time and could be a little messy, and depends on your dough consistency. If your dough is really tough and nice, and then it doesn't really take much of your time. But if it is a little semi soft, or not too hard, then it's like it takes a toll on you. So but then nevertheless, there is an alternate for people who want the easy way. So this is the easier version of mat samosa. This is another kind of mat samosa. I have done exactly the same until here. This is just the alternating of the strips onto each other. So this has got no rocket science here. It is just placing one on top, pulling one from there, pulling one from here, and trying to stick it, and that's it. Ta-da! So look how simple this matte finish was. So this matte size, matte shaped samosa really looks cute, really looks, comes out crispy also. And I would recommend make it very small and thin, as much possible. Keep it thin, because that's when your samosa will be crispy. So now this is the parcel shaped, you may call it flower shaped. So I have called it parcel flower shaped samosa. So basically you have to knock the corners, keep it aside. I am just keeping the sides which I've just cut, because I'm going to be using it for giving it that parcel look. So once you've got this square shape, you will just bring the corners to the center, just like that. Now just turn it backside, and now we will put our stuffing right at the center there. So now place your stuffing, little bit of stuffing, not much, and bring all the corners to the center, and make sure you're just applying water if required to seal it up. So I did not require water because it was pretty soft. So I've just pinched it super well, and I'm sure this is like a fail proof pinch, so it wouldn't come out. But if you need, you please, if your dough has turned out a little dry, do apply water and try to pinch and attach the corners super well. So now by pricking it at the center and all the corners being sealed perfectly, I will turn it the other side now. So now turn the other side and bring these beautiful petals out. So once these are out, turn it again, and now look at that. This is the flower I'm talking about. So just pinch at the corners so that while you're deep frying them, it doesn't come out. So just by pinching at the corners, it gets a petal shape. Now the sides which I had cut, I had taken both the strips and I've used it at the center and tried to give it a parcel look, a parcel that is sealed with a ribbon. So use those strips like ribbon. You may even leave it just like that, give it just the flower look. If you don't have much time, you don't have to do this parcel look. But I had just given this look, a random look, It was a random thought basically. So I just instantly thought, and I thought, let me just give this parcel look. So this is a flower parcel. How cute. Now these onion seeds that I've just put is to make it look attractive, but when you deep fry them it would just come out, so it doesn't make sense. You don't have to put those sprinklers over there. Now we will make our fish shaped samosa. Now the fish shaped samosa, I'm extremely sorry for any vegetarian friends out there. See, I know samosa is dearly loved by everybody, and giving it a fish shape might I don't know, a few of my vegetarian friends, I'm extremely sorry and apologize strongly for this, but nevertheless it's a pure vegetarian stuff, so please bear with me. But anybody who's a non-vegetarian out there, I must tell you, this is a treat. Like, this is a treat when you have a get together, a party. Trust me, when I made it and I served it, my little one, being a non-vegetarian, she literally never believed that it was not a fish. Like, it really looks like a fish. And while you are throwing a nice party, you may actually want to just decorate your table with this beautiful samosa, of course edible samosa, which is an added point. So you may do that, especially non-vegetarians. And about vegetarians, if you do not like, please skip and ignore. But I truly loved the creativity in it. So just follow the steps that I've shown you here, and it's pretty simple to follow and do the same. Now if you've noticed, I've used a patch of sheet onto my stuffing that I've placed in the center. Now this is required, very much required, to make sure that your samosas doesn't lose up its beautiful look. Because sometimes what happens when you just don't put that patchwork, it tends to break in the oil. It tends to just all those potatoes comes out through the gaps, if any. So I always make sure that there is a patch of sheet going on top of the stuffing that I've placed in between, and then I place the strips on top. Now this pepper, which I've used as an eye, is just for the sake of making a whole impression over there, so that when it is deep fried, I know eventually the pepper would come out, but the exact impression of the eye is made there, so that while serving I put my pepper over there. So that's about it. The fish was so easy to make. Now this is another shape which is of course popularly known as the triangular shaped samosa, the regular samosas that we get. So this is as easy as you can see. So at the bottom you can either press it and leave it, or just make this pinch and press technique. So pinch and press, pinch and press, and pinch and press, and that gives you a beautiful, tidy and neat look. So that's kind of a rope look, if you know what I mean. But just pinch and bringing that thing is a very common and a popular technique to make samosa. So that's a regular samosa that I've shown you, because we couldn't have left the regular samosa, so I have made that. Now this is the triangular shape. So just cut at the bottom till the center, bring the other half and join the corners, and after you join the borders, you will just put a little bit of stuffing in center and bring both the sides and make a triangle of it. So this is that simple. So if you want, just make it with one half, but if you're making it this way, make sure you're just rolling your chapati into a very, very thin roll. If you want a well cooked samosa, crispy samosa, make it thin. So this is the I think the last shaped samosa that I'm going to be showing you. So this basically is a round shape. You may even use this as a technique to make a potli shape, because potli shape is again a popular shape. So I've just closed it up. I've just made it a small ball, and I've just stuffed my aloo in there. Now I'm going to be making this random design. This looks very beautiful, so I just made this. So just cut it here and there and place that thing. Make sure again your sheets are thin. Your sheets are rolled super thin. Otherwise it just takes too long to cook. So we just don't want to waste our time cooking one single samosa for so long. So finally we are done with the last round shaped samosa, and we are ready to deep fry our rest of the samosas. So I'm finally successfully done making all my 12 shapes of samosas. The next interesting part is deep frying them. So next, let's heat the oil. So I've heated the oil. I've just heated it at a high temperature and then brought it to to medium to low. Now the point to be noted here is never make your samosas, never dip it in your piping hot oil. This is when you will see the samosas develop those bubbles on its layer. So we don't want that happening. We want it to be, and then of course it turns crisp, it turns brown, and it turns as if it's cooked pretty early. But no, that is the wrong procedure. You would want your samosas to be khasta, to be crispy, to be scrumptious and layery. So you would want it to be deep fried in the oil for minimum 9 to 10 minutes. So every batch takes minimum 8 minutes to 9 minutes to 10 minutes. So it has to be low to medium flame. You will drop in your samosas only when it is low, at a low flame. The oil isn't too hot, because it will be a disaster when you're frying it at a medium to high temperature. So just bring it to low to medium, deep fry all your samosas, and look at that crispy, crunchy samosas that I've made. These really came out so beautiful. I was so happy. None of them lost the shape. In fact, they all had retained their shapes, as well as that crunch and that crispness. So it just turned out terrific, and we really enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed watching it too. Happy cooking. Thank you for watching Prati's Kitchen.